Well, we have another month down on our calendars. We're already in June. It's crazy to think. This year, 2020, has been crazy. It's just insane. We've had a global pandemic. Remember the beginning of the year, we had the World War III scare. Even though, really, anyone with a half a brain knew that World War III wasn't going to really happen, but it was a good meme at least. And of course, coronavirus has been on everyone's mind for the past 2 or 3 months. And now, every major city is erupting in riots. So who knows what's going to happen in the month of June. It seems like things only get worse and worse as each month goes by in 2020. I can't imagine what we're going to be like by the time we hit December. But I hope you're all doing well. I hope everyone's safe. And even though things aren't great right now, we're in the middle of the greatest recession since the Great Depression in 1929. Oh my god, it's really scary. I just graduated from college last month, so I'm trying to figure out what my next move is going to be. But I'm confident that we'll all get through this. We'll all come out the end, one day at a time. We'll make it through. So before I get to these comments, I want to promote my YouTube channel, my second channel, which focuses on Call of Duty, MrNoobTubeGamer. We're really close to 100 subs. If you're into Call of Duty and just military FPS games in general, then check out that channel. I'm also planning on doing a whole bunch of other stuff too, like a superhero channel, like kind of like a survival horror channel, and another channel where I kind of reprise my role as the console king, but I focus on medieval games like Skyrim, Mordhau, pretty much any game that has a sword and shield, and I carry a fake sword in my hand, and I have the king's crown, and we're kind of going to go back to the old days. So I have a whole bunch of stuff planned, but for now I'm focusing on the MrNoobTubeGamer channel, as well as this channel. So if you're into Call of Duty and that kind of stuff, consider checking out that channel and maybe subscribing to it. Another thing, I'm on Twitter, Chad Jackson. I'm pretty active over there, and that's probably the best way to reach me because I'm more active on Twitter than probably any other website. So give me a follow if you haven't already. And I'm also doing something different for this month's video. We're going to have this video as a premiere, which is something I haven't done on the channel before. I've seen a lot of other YouTube channels do it, but I never really considered doing it because it just kind of seemed lame to me. Like, what's the whole point of the whole premiere thing? But we'll see if you guys like it. If you like the premiere, then I might do more in the future, but I figured, hey, the video's ready, upload it when it's ready, why bother doing the premiere? But we're gonna test it out and see if you guys like it. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into these comments. So the first video I made in the month of May was a start of a new series called Unpopular Gaming Opinions, where I just share with you guys my most unpopular opinions about video games. It's pretty self-explanatory. I think a few things I said in that video was that Saints Row the Third and Saints Row 4 are garbage games. I said GTA 4 is better than GTA 5, Battlefront 1 is better than Battlefront 2, and we're talking about the old one, not the new EA one. So you guys seem to like this new series on the channel, and you were pretty engaged with what I was saying, because a lot of you were sharing your own opinions, and were giving your reaction to what I said in the video, so it was a fun video to make, and I think it turned out really well. FastFox55 says, people who take video games seriously live a sad, lonely, and boring life. Get a real hobby. And Chris Delgado responds, why'd you click on the video if you don't like video games in the first place? And FastFox responds, watching Chad is entertaining and he's the most honest YouTuber I know. I don't dislike video games in general. It's a great way to heal the mind and escape from reality. I've spent hundreds of hours playing all sorts of stuff over the years. Had a lot of fun, still am to this day. I just don't understand why people have to get defensive over something that doesn't exist. I couldn't agree more, FastFox. And that's kind of the reason why I decided to start this series, to kind of show that it's really not a big deal. We're talking about video games here. It's not like I'm insulting your mother or calling your wife a whore or whatever, you know? It's a video game. And there definitely are a lot of people out there that take it way too seriously, which is part of the reason why I decided to go ahead with this series, to kind of show that, okay, it's not a big deal and that people get so upset over stupid things like video games. Then Strong Anarchy has a response to my opinions. 1, I agree that 3D Sonic is better than 2D Sonic, but I wouldn't say it sucks. Yeah, I think 2D Sonic is trash, but hey, to each their own. 2, I can't really say because I didn't play GTA 4. Well, you're really missing out. GTA 4 is an amazing game, despite what people say. Number 3, yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Saints Row 3 and 4 are awful. Oh yeah, they're the worst, some of the worst open world sandbox games ever played. They're just so boring. They're lifeless. There's nothing to do in that game. And that kind of goes against what open world sandbox games are supposed to be all about, especially coming out of Saints Row 1 and 2, where there was so much shit to do, but Saints Row 3 and 4 are garbage games. Number 4, actually, that's not unpopular. I've heard people say Battlefront 1 was better. I did hear a lot of people say that, but it seemed like the consensus was that Battlefront 2 was the best game in the Battlefront series, so that's why I said that was unpopular. Number 5, I didn't play Infinite Warfare, so I can't be offended. Fair enough. Then Safe from Death 75, well, you know the thing is every gamer has an unpopular opinion when it comes to games. We all like and hate popular titles, and that's kind of another thing of what this series is all about, to kind of highlight that, yeah, we're all going to have different opinions, but there's no reason to get all upset about it. Like I said, it's video games. Get over it. So then I made this next video about multiplayer remaster and why that concept just doesn't work, and it's a failed concept fundamentally. I was inspired to make this video because, like I said earlier, I've been spending a lot of time working on my Call of Duty channel, and one thing that pops up constantly in the Call of Duty community is that they want to see these older Call of Duty games get a remaster. They want Black Ops remastered, Modern Warfare 2 remastered, etc., etc. And the whole point I was trying to make is just like, do you really want these multiplayer games to be remastered? Because first of all, those old games represent a time period when multiplayer games weren't cancer. Like, you didn't have microtransactions and all this bullshit supply drops. If they remaster the game, you know they're gonna put that shit in. And the other thing I said is that these games are old, they had a lot of problems, and just remastering it, giving it a fresh coat of paint and selling it as a new game, like, a lot of these games haven't really aged very well. So do you really want them to be remastered? Like, with a single player game, it might not be a big of a deal, but like, when we're talking about multiplayer, I just don't think it works. So I'm not going to reiterate all the points I made. If you want to check it out, if you haven't seen it, just watch the video and you'll see what I mean. But it turns out this video has more dislikes than likes. So I guess a lot of people didn't like what I had to say, which is fine. I don't expect you guys to always agree with everything that I say, but let's check out the comments and see what you guys have to say about this. Sponge Matt says, watching the gameplay, I can see why they call you MrNoobTubeGamer. Yeah, because I was playing Modern Warfare Remastered in the background to kind of emphasize the point I'm making. Like, yeah, you have these noob tubes with Sonic Boom, which is pretty much like Danger Close in Modern Warfare 2, if you know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, the game is an unbalanced mess, and the game came out so many years ago in 2007, and remastering it and presenting it as a new game, like, it feels very outdated. So that was the point I was trying to make using that gameplay. But yeah, I am MrNoobTubeGamer. I like noob tubing, no matter what Call of Duty game we're talking about. I just like using the grenade launcher. So yeah, that's why they call me MrNoobTubeGamer. That name didn't come from nowhere. Sailor Mercury says, you make a great point that most of the reason we want remastered games is just to relive that period of time when we first played it. I love Modern Warfare 2, but I probably would get bored of a remastered multiplayer after a week or so. It would be a great hit of nostalgia for a short period of time, but isn't as long-lasting as a new experience would be. And that's pretty much what I was trying to get at. That, yeah, it's nice to go back to the past, but if you really want to go back to the past, what's stopping you from playing the original game? The servers are still up. It's because you think that you're going to relive those past experiences in your life. Not just you playing Modern Warfare, but the time period in your life in which it represents. Back when life was simpler, we didn't have so much things to worry about. And you kind of want to try to relive that time in your life, but it doesn't work. You're not going to. You're going to get bored after a week or two, like most people did with Modern Warfare Remastered. So why is Modern Warfare 2 Remastered going to be any different? And then we have Sierra Air, who says, you were complaining about MW2 Remastered not having multiplayer on Twitter. The irony is strong. Okay, well, here's the thing. Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, I believe, should have never happened at all. So they remastered the campaign, but didn't include multiplayer or even Spec Ops, which isn't even multiplayer, it's just co-op. They just included the campaign, which is frustrating because if you're going to remaster a game, at least include the full experience. Like, when they remastered Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the first one, they didn't include the DLC, and they sold the DLC separately. So it just pisses me off that they're going to sell one mode of the game and then probably try to sell the rest to you later, but if they don't, it's like, it's incomplete. Like, the remaster is inferior to the original game, so what's the point? Like, that's pretty much what I was trying to get at here. Like, if you're going to remaster the game, at least remaster the full game, or don't do it at all. So I apologize if that went over your head, but I don't really see the irony here. Then I decided to start another series on the channel talking about alternate gaming history. So the first one was what if Sega survived, and I would just kind of give my thoughts about what would the gaming industry look like if Sega never stopped making consoles. The Dreamcast was not the last Sega console, and they kept going. I pretty much said, like, the cliff notes of the video is that Microsoft probably wouldn't exist in the console space and would focus more on PC gaming. But it's a really interesting conversation. If you haven't checked it out, you can always go back and watch it. Summonon left a pretty long comment. I've watched a million what if history videos, so I was prepared for someone to do this or something like that, though I didn't expect you to do it. Though something else I'd like to comment on is that SegaNet was not much like Xbox Live. It was more of a game-oriented ISP, and I'd imagine Sega being a bit more imaginative, but I'd agree that overall the industry wouldn't be too different as far as consoles are concerned. PC would be better or worse depending on how Microsoft copes with Steam. Valve would make Proton. There would still be Linux support. But yeah, you're pretty much agreeing with me that the video game industry wouldn't really be too different. Sega would essentially be what Microsoft became in the real timeline. But maybe things would be really different in the PC market because Microsoft might be making a bigger push in the PC gaming world because Sega would essentially replace them in the console space. So that would probably be a big difference because Valve dominated the PC gaming market for the past 15 years. Maybe Microsoft would have given them a run for their money. But there's obviously no way of knowing for sure because we don't know what would have happened without it actually happening, right? And then Magnamaster says, I don't think Halo would have become that big if Microsoft had made it a PC-only franchise. Console shooters before it had the big issue of being really hard to play to absolutely unplayable. Because it was the first big functional shooter on consoles. On PC, it would have had way more devastating early competition. I don't think Halo Combat Evolved would have been that big of a success on a market where it had to directly compete with the best versions of Doom, Quake, Counter-Strike, Half-Life, and even Unreal. Maybe you're right about that, but I thought that Halo Combat Evolved actually did do well on PC when it first came out. And now, of course, we have the Master Chief Collection, which is selling incredibly well on PC, so who knows how well Halo would have done if it never made it to consoles. I mean, the gameplay of it is really good on PC, and it kind of feels like a natural fit for the PC gaming platform, but you're definitely right when you say that Halo benefited a lot from there not being a lot of good console shooters back then, and maybe it would have had a hard time competing against the PC shooters we had in the early 2000s like Counter-Strike, Quake, etc. But me personally, I think Halo still would have done well regardless. And of course, the context of this comment being that I mentioned in the video about Sega, if they still made consoles, perhaps Halo would have become a PC franchise instead of it becoming console-oriented because of the Xbox. But with Sega, there would probably be no Xbox, which would have meant no Halo on console. So moving on, I made a video about Discord's lost potential, which is pretty much me talking about how it's really a missed opportunity for Discord to not try to compete more directly with Steam and also Epic Games, because Discord is the largest gaming platform in the world right now, and if they start selling games, I think they would do really well. So I pretty much said it was lost potential for Discord not to actually try to do that. Nico App seems to agree. He says, I agree with you, but I would like it more if they develop their library so you can actually link all the game services and use Discord as your single and only launcher. Yeah, I remember I tried to use Discord to launch my games and it didn't work very well. Like, the Discord overlay would actually stop a lot of my games from being able to run. So they could definitely work on that, kind of use Discord as a one-stop shop to launch all your games and kind of connect it to the official Discord servers for certain games. Like, they already do that with a lot of games, but they could definitely expand on that. But I think it should definitely be a bigger priority for them to actually try to compete directly with Steam and sell games, have an actual game store, and go head-to-head with Steam and Epic. And in that same video, I mentioned that GOG is not real competition. Magnamaster seemed to be kind of upset about that. He said, how is GOG not large if their Cyberpunk 2077 pre-orders have outnumbered Steam's? You're talking about one game out of all the games that are on Steam, only a fraction of them are available on GOG, and if you actually count the actual revenue that Steam gets compared to, GOG gets a fraction of that. It's so small in comparison that you really can't label GOG as a viable competitor to Steam. You just can't. Not to mention the context of GOG being owned by the same company that makes Cyberpunk. So no, I would argue that GOG is pretty irrelevant in the grand scheme of things when we're talking about the PC gaming market. And as much as that sucks because GOG is probably the most consumer-friendly gaming platform, the truth of the matter is that they're not doing nearly as well as its competitors. So that's why I wanted Discord to step in the first place, because I feel like they're the ones that can actually bring the competition of Valve, more so than Epic. I mean, Epic's there also, but I think that Discord could really do a lot of good things for not only PC gaming and communication, but the actual PC gaming market, the actual sale of PC games. I think Discord could do very well. Moving on to episode 2 of my unpopular gaming opinion series, and the first one actually went surprisingly well because they were unpopular opinions, but they weren't that controversial. Like I said, Battlefront 1 is better than 2, GTA 4 is better than GTA 5, and I did say that thing about 2D Sonic being shitty, which I thought that would really trigger a lot of people, but those opinions weren't as controversial as what I said in the second episode. And I remember saying that Counter-Strike Go sucks, which is in the thumbnail, because that was the thing that really pissed people off. I also said Minecraft sucks, and I said a lot of things that people really didn't like. But that's the point. unpopular gaming opinions. If you don't like unpopular opinions, then just don't click on the video. Like, we all have these opinions. That's the point of the series. I'm sure you watching the video right now, you have something. You have an opinion that if you actually made it public and you actually said it, a lot of people would be shitting on you. So it's not just me. I'm not the only one who happens to have unpopular opinions. Like, we all have them. I'm just one of the few people that's willing to admit them. And we have Magnamaster again, who says, CSGO sucks. It doesn't have aim down sights. Doesn't stop moving to shoot. Bro, your bait game is on top. No, I'm not baiting. I'm not even trolling. Like, those days are far behind me, honestly. I hate CSGO. I think the gameplay sucks. The spawns are the most unfair in gaming history. I don't care what anybody says, but the whole idea, like, oh, you can't move. You need to stop moving while you're shooting people. Like, I'm sorry, but any other FPS game, that's not how it works. And you can say, well, CSGO or Counter-Strike, they're doing something completely different that the other FPS games don't do, but the gameplay just sucks. It's not fun. It's unfair. And it's shit. And I remember also saying something about the Halo series, that Halo is really not that good. The common thing you hear about the Halo series is that it's really fun with friends, and SpongeMatt quoted my response to that. Games that are fun with friends doesn't make the game fun. Any game is fun with friends. I like that quote. Yeah, I do too, because it's true. I mean, you can think of the shittiest game possible. If you're playing with a friend, you can make a lot of fun out of it. So just because a game is fun with friends doesn't necessarily mean the game is good. And that's how I feel about the Halo series. Then we have Shinsaken Hype, a day late and $1 short, but there's sure going to be a lot of thumbs down in the video. And there were. Last I checked, the like to dislike ratio is like about only 64% of viewers liked the video and the rest were dislikes, which is not great, but it is what it is. Like, I don't care about the like to dislike ratio. A video can get 1 like and 100 dislikes, and I don't give a shit. But Nuclear Travis seems to like the series. He says, I really like the series. Please continue to make them at your leisure. Please don't shy to make one because you'd be afraid to piss someone off. Besides, it's funny to see the salty opinions about your opinions. Now, yeah, I like it too. I like that people get so worked up over video games. At the end of the day, it's a video game. We all have different tastes, whether it's music, movies, games, whatever it is, and we're just gonna have to deal with it, that we're all gonna have different opinions about certain things. It's not the end of the world. But then Weststyle says, these opinions are way off the mark compared to your last vid. I mean, that's your opinion. I disagree. So then I followed that up with another alternate history gaming video, and I might not make more because it doesn't seem like those videos are doing quite well and people don't really seem to like them as much as my other videos. So let me know if you made it this far. Let me know if you guys want to see more of these videos, but it doesn't seem like you guys are really into them, so maybe I just won't make any more. But I talked about what if Nintendo never existed. Dr. Daniel says it really does seem crazy that Nintendo was like the rope that held together the whole console market, and without them it would seemingly not exist, but it does seem to be the case. I would be curious to see a video on Sony not existing as well as Sega or Microsoft, or hell, what if Atari didn't exist? Well, I already made the video about Sega. I might make more, but like I said, that's up to you guys. If you guys want more, I'll make more, but if you don't, then I won't. So let me know in the comments. Moving on, I made a video speculating as to when the PS4 and Xbox One will be discontinued. We are approaching a new generation of consoles, so that time is going to come eventually where the PS4 and Xbox One will no longer be supported. But with backwards compatibility being so prevalent now in the 9th generation, the 8th generation might last a lot longer because people are going to be playing games on those older systems a lot more than they did in the last generation where you didn't really have that backwards compatibility. I mean, you kind of did with the Xbox 360, but you didn't have PS3 backwards compatibility, so the fact that backwards compatibility is going to be much more expanded in the next generation might mean that the old generation, meaning the 8th generation, might last a lot longer. And I believe I went as far as to say that the PS4 and Xbox One will last through 2024, 2025. And Fritz says after next gen comes out, I give it until 2024, so pretty much agreeing with my prediction. And Shinsaken says, I think they will be discontinued much more quicker than we think. On the other hand, due to the economy, that might be scrapped. And that's a good point because we're in the worst economic downturn in almost 90 years. And a lot of people might not have the money to be able to afford the new consoles and might just stick with the old gen consoles because they're cheaper and they're more accessible. And I believe that's a point that I also brought up in the video. And I followed that up with another video talking about the next gen consoles, about the potential of PlayStation 5 and Series X games being capped at 30 frames per second. I didn't even think we'd be having this conversation in the 9th generation. Assassin's Creed Valhalla looks like it might be capped at 30 frames, which is very concerning because that is a AAA blockbuster game that's going to come out at the launch of these consoles, and it might not be able to hit 60 frames per second, which is very concerning to me because that might be a sign of what's to come in the 9th generation with games being capped at 30 frames. Strong Anarchy says, I'd rather have 1080p 60 frames per second than 4K 30 frames per second. I completely agree with you, dude. I hope that if they're going to do, at least the consoles can allow you to choose which resolution that you want, so you can have 4K 30 if you really care about how pretty the game looks, but if you care more about performance, you should be allowed to downscale the resolution, especially since, think about how many people even have 4K like, there's still a lot of people that don't have 4K televisions, so even though these games are running at 4K 30, there are a lot of people that are going to buy these consoles and can't even utilize that 4K, so there should definitely be more versatility in how you choose your experience with the 9th generation consoles, but maybe that's wishful thinking. Maybe that's probably not going to happen. Who the hell knows? But yeah, I'd always choose performance over resolution every time. Magnum Master says, after going to 165 frames per second, it is honestly hard to go back to 60 even. I can do it, but it is noticeably worse, and I always feel genuine relief when I play a game above 100 again. 100 is my baseline for comfort now. Yeah, I've noticed that for myself too. When I'm running games at 144, even going to like 90, it feels weird. And me being on PC this whole time, I don't think I can go back to consoles if games, especially if they're running at 30, but even if 60 is the minimum, I'm gonna have a hard time. I mean, I could do 60, but 30 frames is completely unplayable to me now. I just can't do it. And then Julius Anderson says, I wouldn't even be surprised if RTX was always on and there were no way to turn it off on console. Yeah, that's the thing about consoles, that Sony and Microsoft, they choose what your experience is. If you don't want what they give you, too bad. You have to deal with it. Ray tracing is beautiful. I have a ray tracing card. I have the RTX 2060 Super, which is kind of the minimum of ray tracing. Like, it's not as good as the 2070 and 2080, obviously, but it still looks really beautiful. But if I had to choose between ray tracing and having the game perform a lot better, I'm obviously going to turn ray tracing off, but who knows if Sony and Microsoft will even allow you to do that. They probably won't. And then I make another video about the next-gen consoles, talking about why I prefer HDD over SSD. And of course, the new consoles are both going to use solid-state drives, which allows for much faster loading times than a regular hard drive at a cost of less storage. And the whole point of that video was kind of like the same theme as the last video, where I think that performance is a lot more important than resolution. And in this video, I say I think having more storage is a lot more important than having faster loading times. I just don't see why people are so happy about having less storage. Okay, the loading times, I understand that they could be really slow at times, especially with PUBG. Oh my god, because I don't have an SSD. When I'm trying to run PUBG on my hard drive, it takes like 2 minutes to start up. So I feel your pain, guys, but I don't think it's worth sacrificing storage space, because storage space has already been a problem in the past generation, with the PS4 and Xbox One only coming with 500 gigabytes. I think this is going to be even worse because you only get 825 gigabytes when games are only going to get bigger in the next gen, and on the Xbox Series X it's going to be 1 terabyte. I just think that's unacceptable. But Thidos seems to disagree. He says the inclusion of the SSD means more than just faster loading times. Both consoles will use it like a pseudo-RAM of sorts, allowing for a generational leap in detail that they couldn't otherwise do due to the high cost of GDDR6. They needed to make the jump to SSDs to keep up, especially since these machines will have to last for the better part of a decade. It sucks that there'll only be 1 terabyte, but this needed to happen to keep these machines relevant. If they pushed it back another gen, it would still be a problem since HDDs will always be cheaper than SSDs, so you would still get less storage for the same money. And I think you're overhyping SSDs just a little bit. I don't think it's going to be as much of a generational leap as you say it's going to be. Yeah, loading time's going to be much faster, but as far as the other benefits, I'm not entirely sure, because I'm very confident that my PC, even with only an HDD and no SSD, will still be able to do far more than a new console ever could. And I think for the average PC gamer, they're still going to stick with regular hard drives. They're not going to just buy SSDs and stick with that and sacrifice storage for faster loading times. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think SSDs are going to become the new standard anytime soon. I just don't see it happening. I think people are definitely overhyping SSDs a bit too much. And then Nico says, I do agree, but for now, as things are, add a small SSD for the OS and a big HDD for games, or better yet, a hybrid for games. But yet again, you can't choose what you're getting from console overlords. And yeah, that's the most frustrating thing, is that Sony and Microsoft decide ultimately what your experience is, and if you don't like that experience, too bad. And the thing is, these consoles are going to be way too expensive for an economic recession. A console that costs $500 is just not going to be accessible for most people. But then on top of that, not having enough storage to the point that you have to buy even more and spend even more money, that alone is going to keep me away from the new consoles. Never mind everything else about 30 frames and all that other crap. Not having enough storage, that's a no-buy for me. And then Weststyle says, your opinion on storage when it comes to gaming is shallow, and that's because your perspective on it is narrow. You want SSDs to be the prime focus for consoles/gaming. Trust me. No, I don't trust you, because I don't want that. No way. I've already had a problem with storage this past generation, and that problem's going to be worse tenfold in the next gen. Why would I want that under any circumstances? Unless we reach the point where physical disks will have enough storage where you don't even need to install games on the hard drive. I mean, that's the only case where I can have no problem with SSDs. Otherwise, I'm staying far away from consoles. And I'm serious. Fuck that. You could take your faster loading times and shove it straight up your ass, because I'm not interested. I'd rather be able to play twice as many games with slower loading times than being able to only play a certain number of games because I don't have enough fucking storage. Fuck that. Storage is already a big problem right now, and it's only going to get worse. But people love this, and I just don't see how anyone can justify this. I really don't. And then we have Skywalker, who says you can just add another 1TB SSD later on if you're purchasing large 60GB plus games. Most people aren't playing more than 3 games at a time, some even just 1 game, so do we really need to pay for more storage, or do we want fast load times? More storage is the answer here. And I guess that's easy for you and other people to say that, oh, it's not a big deal, people only play a certain number of games at a time, they could just uninstall the games they don't want to play and then reinstall it later. What if you have shitty internet? What if you have a data cap? And the thing is, I used to be in that situation not that long ago. You guys remember when I had to use a 4G hotspot for internet? And I can imagine for the people who are still stuck in that situation, the next generation is going to be a fucking nightmare. But forget all that. It's just so inconvenient to have to uninstall games and then reinstall them. It's just annoying, and who the hell wants to do that? So I guess I'm alone here. I guess I'm the only one who sees the problem with focusing on SSDs. I guess I'm the only one that actually wants to play as many games as possible. I don't understand, but whatever. At least I have the option on PC to say fuck that, and I'm gonna stick with my hard drive. And here we have this video about why I love the Epic Games Store. The video actually went a lot better than I thought. I expected it to be bombed with dislikes and unsubscribe and all that crap. It actually went over pretty well. I mean, it had a lot of dislikes, but for some reason it wasn't as disliked as my video talking about multiplayer remastered, because I guess people don't like to be exposed for wanting to go back to the past and not living in the present, I guess. I don't know. But for some reason, that video got a lot more dislikes than the video about praising the Epic Games Store, which surprised me, really. It really did. I couldn't believe that. But there's still a lot of people who had a problem with what I said, so let's take a look at the comments. Infinite Retro. Anyone remember that guy? Holy shit, Infinite Retro left a comment. He says, it actually doesn't. Valve never caved. In fact, most companies, EA, Ubisoft, all charge that same rate Valve does. And even Tim Sweeney, who he calls Pig Swiney, stated last year that they won't be buying exclusives for much longer. Free games does not equal launcher engagement, it just means you get freeloaders. But I don't understand that logic, because if you get a game for free, aren't you going to be more likely to use that launcher than if you don't? Like, I got GTA 5 for free, and I'm playing it on Epic, when I could be playing it on Steam. I could be playing it, I guess, on the Rockstar launcher, or whatever the hell, but I got the game on Epic, which is making me use Epic a lot more than I did before. So I think, yeah, free games definitely improves engagement in your platform. And as far as exclusives go, yeah, it's an entry point. It's for Epic to get a foothold in the market. And once they get that foothold, they're gonna ease out of using exclusivity contracts and look towards other ways to engage consumers. And I think that's a great thing. But the exclusivity deals, it's a necessary thing for them to do, because otherwise, Epic Games would not have anywhere close to the foothold they have now in the PC gaming market. So whether you like it or not, the revenue split and the exclusivity deals, it's really good business. And it's very smart for Epic to do. And then Old Random Computing says game exclusivity. That's probably why people don't exactly like the Epic Game Store. And I understand that. You'd rather be able to choose which launcher you get to use, and you don't want to be forced to use a launcher that you otherwise wouldn't. I understand all that, okay? But like I said, it's smart business, and at the end of the day, it's good for competition. If Sony and Microsoft didn't have exclusive content, then there would be no point in having a PlayStation and an Xbox in the market. There would really be no point in having that competition. The same thing with streaming services. So why are people so upset about Epic Games, especially when it's not that big of a deal compared to the consoles, where you have to spend an extra $400, $500 if you want to actually play all the games that you want to play? So I really don't understand the outrage here. Then we have Abe Hervat. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. If it was just pro-consumer, nobody would buy on it. Steam never forced exclusivity, which is what you and many others don't get. It's not that exclusivity is inherently bad, it's when the exclusivity is bought by throwing money that it annoys people. Steam wasn't a monopoly by any definition of the word, and Epic throwing money at publishers to make their games Epic exclusive isn't really helping their case. Netflix plays an active part in the creation process of their exclusives. So do other companies with exclusives. The only exclusives that people won't have a problem with is the one that Epic takes part in the development of, not the ones they throw their Fortnite money at. However, your other points are mostly pretty spot on. Oh, PlayStation Steam taking a 30% cut gives developers a lot of features, not the least of which is access to their server API for multiplayer. Well, what you said at the end is kind of misleading because it's not like Sony and Valve provide the multiplayer servers for developers. That's all up to them to have good servers and all that. Like, all that infrastructure is pretty much up to the developer and the publisher to iron out for themselves. And the ironic thing about PlayStation, since you brought that up, is that, oh yeah, they're taking so much more money from developers. Meanwhile, Epic takes less money, and they probably spend a lot more money with these exclusivity contracts, yet I get 4 free games a month, no strings attached, while on the PlayStation, I have to pay $60 a year to get the quote-unquote free games. And if I stop paying the subscription, guess what? I lose access to all of those games. But that will never happen to me on Epic because they're yours to keep forever. And as far as the exclusivity thing goes, you say, okay, it's only a problem when Epic throws money at developers to make games exclusive to their platform. But the thing is, there are so many games that you can only play on Steam that you can't play anywhere else. But we don't have a problem with that, right? And yeah, I think I would call Steam a monopoly because for the past 15 years before Epic Games, where else could you really go to buy games? Okay, you had other stuff like GOG and all those other platforms, but they didn't have nearly the library of games that Steam has. So you either use Steam or you don't play games on PC at all. That's pretty much how it's been. So how is that not a monopoly? And then we have Alex Weberg who says, I don't mind the Epic Game Store. Nothing wrong with competition, but it's nice having the option buying all my games on Steam. The only problem that I have with the store is the timed or permanent exclusives. I get why they do it, it's just like you said. But it sucked having to buy Predator Hunting Grounds on Epic. I like achievement hunting, and as of now, Epic still hasn't implemented that feature yet. So I'm going to just play Predator with no extra challenge for getting achievements besides just killing everyone or surviving. I was very excited about Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 until I found out it was Epic exclusive. Hopefully by the time it releases, it does feature achievements. Epic isn't all bad. The free games like GTA 5 is great. Epic does have a lot of future potential for sure. I wouldn't doubt it that they improve it even more months down the road. I hope they do. And look, when it comes to that, I certainly understand where you're coming from. I'm certainly not an Epic apologist. I don't work for Epic. I'm not going to defend everything they do. I think it's ridiculous that you don't have a shopping cart, which I mentioned in the video, and also achievements. I think those are important features to a lot of people, and there's really no way to justify those features not being there. But at the same time, I think the ends justify the means. I think what Epic is doing is ultimately a good thing for the PC gaming market, and I think the platform is very misunderstood. It gets a lot more hate than it deserves. And then I made a video talking about remasters, remakes, reboots, just the fact that the video game industry seems like they're running out of ideas. We're not getting a lot of new stuff, it's just recycled crap from the past. So I made a video talking about that. Dr. Daniel left a pretty long comment. I pretty much agree with everything said here. I find all 3 of these types of games to usually be either lazily slapped together for a quick buck, rushed out for release and ends up being a buggy mess, or they fly under the radar. The only exceptions I can remember off the top of my head that are actually great are Doom 3, Doom 2016, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Super Mario 64 DS, the Super Mario Advance games, etc. I'd include Halo Master Chief, but it had so many bugs at launch that it was just insanely bad. Yeah, remakes, remasters, and reboots being so frequent in this day and age shows developers are running out of ideas, or they just turn to the past so they can make that sweet dollar. The most shameful example of this was the Ghostbusters game Remastered, which didn't have the multiplayer from the original, and had no graphical improvements, and then pre-rendered cutscenes ended up looking worse. It was basically the 2009 game released for PC, Xbox 360, and PC, but ported to Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and a new PC version. By the way, the original version from 2009 is still backwards compatible on Xbox One, making the remaster pointless. But yeah, I hope that down the road, remakes, remasters, and reboots become less common and devs actually start to think creatively about new games instead of turning to the past to get some money and fanfare off of milking the nostalgia well for an easy buck. Yeah, like I said in the video, there are definitely a lot of cases where a game can use a little touch-up, or they could reboot an entire franchise, and it works, but I think right now we're going a little bit too far. I mean, the biggest games that have been coming out lately have mostly been remakes, remasters. It's just, can we actually do something original? Especially the remaster, that's just lazy, especially with backwards compatibility. Like, why do we need all these games to get remastered like you said and like I said in the video? I already can play those older games on my newer console. Why should I buy the game again? I really dig the remakes that have been coming out though, Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, so I think it's cool that we head in that direction, but remasters are just lazy, and reboots, sometimes they can work, sometimes they can just kill an entire franchise. So yeah, I'd like to see less of that and more original stuff, new IPs, new ideas, not recycled shit. And finally, we made another console peasant cancer video, which I haven't done in quite a while, and someone sent the video to me and I'm like, I have to. This is like a sign that I need to make another CPC. And it seems like you guys really like this video, which is cool. So Dr. Daniel left another comment on this video. He says, when he mentions you need multiple launchers, I about lost it. Technically, yes, you do, but if you want to launch all your games through something like Steam, you technically can launch anything from it if you add a non-Steam game to Steam. I do it for multiple games such as physical CD games or GTA 5 from the Rockstar launcher, for example. They launch just fine. Just figured I'd bring this up. And you're totally right. It's not like it's even hard to have multiple launchers anyway. Like, it's annoying, but it's not difficult, because this whole argument was that PC gaming was too complicated, that people can't keep up with all these launchers. It's not that it's complicated, it's just tedious. That's really the thing. But you can simplify it if you want to, like you said. You can do it on Steam, you can kind of do it on Discord, but it's kind of buggy trying to launch your games through there. And you also have third-party launchers that combine Steam and Epic and everything, and it actually works really well. So you can do that if you want. Absolutely. Then Mr. Green Thumb Grows says, I have definitely had my share of troubleshooting games on PC, that's a fact. That being said, it's worth the extra steps and headaches it takes for a much sharper, smoother gaming experience. I mean, I personally haven't run into too many headaches on PC gaming. I wouldn't be shy if I did. Like, I'm the person that always complains on Twitter if something goes wrong, if something happens that I don't like. I'm the first person to go on Twitter and complain. But I have never had any problems, really. I've maybe had 2 or 3 of them, but they were easy to solve. I didn't have to sit for hours troubleshooting. It just doesn't happen on PC gaming. So I'm not really sure where that stereotype comes from, because it has no basis in reality whatsoever. And we have Sierra Air again saying, clickbait. You bait people into clicking on your video with a provocative title pretending you think that, then pander to the people who came here because they were provoked by the video title. And then God Dixon responds, the thumbnail has a dumbass right next to the text title. Pretty sure the title is sarcasm. And then Shadow XXE responds, the title is supposed to be sarcastic, it's not Chad's fault, you don't understand sarcasm. And Aiden Hendrickson, you have a massive hate boner for this guy. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Anyone who's been on my channel for a while, you always see this guy in the comments. We kind of go way back. I guess I kind of know him. I mean, we're not close or anything, but we've talked on Discord a couple times, and he's always like a really provocative person, and that's kind of his thing. He really likes to get under people's skin, and for some reason I'm one of his targets. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, as far as what I was accused of doing and having a misleading title and thumbnail and everything, I made it clear to have a dumbass in the thumbnail for a reason, and it seems like most of you understood that, so I really don't need to explain it. And what a good way to end this monthly recap. We have the guy who is actually the material of this video, Ray's gaming channel, who didn't appreciate the fact that someone made a video response to him, so let's see what Ray has to say. Well, if you looked in the comment section, you would see and realize the video was made because I have been paid by people IRL who came from console to PC to adjust their resolutions for them or set up Bluetooth controllers on PC, and their argument was, I spent more on this PC than my console and the console automatically does it for me. Meanwhile, the other argument is, I don't have time to learn that. Also, you used my audio in the video and not the actual gameplay to avoid the YouTube system, but one of your subs turned around and told me about the video. If the original video wasn't hilarious enough, look at this fucking comment. Oh my god. Do you honestly think anyone is going to believe that people are paying you money to set up Bluetooth on their PC? Literally something that anybody can do, and even if you didn't know how to do it, there's a 30-second tutorial on YouTube. Why would someone pay you to do that? No, I don't believe that shit. And then what else do you say? That's people pay you to adjust their resolutions for them? That's bullshit, okay? Now, if I didn't know before that you were full of shit, this comment basically confirms that you're a pathological liar. There's no truth coming out of your stupid ass mouth. There's no way that you're telling the truth, especially when you're talking about people paying you to adjust resolutions for them. Give me a fucking break, dude. Do you honestly expect anyone to believe you? Really? And then you're accusing me of avoiding the YouTube system, whatever the hell that means. I think you're just dumb. I mean, that really is, like, not only are you a liar, but you're just fucking stupid. Like, you're the dumbest person I have ever seen on this platform, by far. For the record, I only include the audio because, look, I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean when I say that including your original video doesn't look good for the channel. You see that? It looks like shit, right? And that's the simple reason why I only included my gameplay and not your gameplay. Because the other thing I could have done was kind of switch back and forth, but that wouldn't really have looked good. Like, just having one gameplay throughout the video and only including your audio, there's no ulterior motive here. But what are you gonna do? Like, why would I even not want you to see it? I linked your original video in the description for people to check out. Are you that fucking stupid? Really? Why would I not want you to see it? Why would I even care if you see it or not? What are you gonna do? Give me a strike on my channel? I fucking dare you. I dare you to do that. Because you're probably the type of person that's dumb enough to do something like that. You probably never even heard of fair use. You're that fucking stupid. So you can try to take my video down, but I can promise you it's not gonna work out in your favor. But if that wasn't enough, he left more comments. Oh my god. Also, to fix this issue, console peasant talk, I have been playing PC since 2003. I'm sorry. You've been playing on PC since 2003? I'm sorry, but those point and click games for little kids, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Oh my god. There's no way that you've been a PC gamer since 2003. Who are you trying to fool? No one's buying that shit, dude. Like, anyone who saw that video, would you think this guy's been a PC gamer for 17 years with the shit that's coming out of this dude's mouth? No fucking way, right? So no one's buying that shit, but he left one final comment. Also, just throwing this out here, if you watch your video from a couple years ago, you literally talk about why you hate PC gaming in your own words, console peasantry, XD. Yeah, and your point is, the fact that I've been a PC gamer for only 2 years, and I still demonstrate a lot more knowledge than you, the person who claims to have been a PC gamer for 17 years, what does that say? At least I grew the fuck up. When will you? But that just about wraps up the monthly recap for May 2020. Thank you all for your comments, and thank you for supporting this channel. This is one of the few things I got in my life that is keeping me sane through this whole crisis, so I appreciate everyone that tunes in and supports the channel. It means so much to me, and this is my way of showing my appreciation. Because truth be told, these videos are a pain in the ass to make, but it's worth it because you guys like it. It makes the channel feel a lot more personal, because there's so many YouTube channels that pretty much neglect their subscribers and act like they don't give a fuck, so this is the least I can do for all you guys do for me, so I appreciate all your support. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon. Take care, bye.